Are you listening? Damn. Yeah.
Welcome everybody, I'm Kristine Drummond and you're listening to another podcast called Boss Talks, and I'm here with my friend Joel Lord, and we are talking about personal ROI today. And what we mean by that is your personal return on investment. Now, if you're getting value from this, the only cost for to listening to this podcast is we just want you to share it. If this resonates with you, if you get value from this podcast, we would just love you to share it with people in your world, in your life, who you think could get some value as well. So, Joel, today we're talking about personal return on investment. I've just read an article that people are sort of saying, as a parent, and I'm a parent and you're a parent, we invest a lot in our kids, and growing up, our parents invested a lot in us as well. And they're saying that the average child costs around $250,000 between the time that they're born to when they're 18. Now, we think it's a little bit more than that. That doesn't include schooling, that figure. But kids are costly, and we want to know, do we ever get that return on investment back from our little ones, do you think?
Wow, well, that's a great intro, and look, the way I look at it is, the return on investment I want to see from my kids is that they live an amazing life. And to me, what that means is, I see my kids, as I do other people, but, kids are special to each parent, and you are special to your parents. And, I don't believe there's a way a human can become an adult without having people around them that care for them, that have put a lot of time and effort and money. And, it's not always just financial. It's a lot like, as a mum, you carried your kids around, and my wife carried the kids around for 9 months. You guys got that extra time with them, and you guys went through a lot to have the kids, to bring them into the world. They do cost a lot of money and a lot of time, and it's worth it. I'm not for a second saying that I'm going to be sending my 18-year-old a bill. Although I don't know about that. That might be funny when he's 18. He might not see the joke in that. But, we really do see unlimited potential in our kids. And, our kids didn't have, our parents didn't have us, just like we didn't have our kids to see them in pain. We bring them into the world believing that they can do anything they want. And we certainly didn't have them and to see them settle, to see them be broke, to see them be overweight. And I don't mean just broke financially. I can mean that in health, spiritually, in relationships, So when we were growing up, and when our kids are growing up, we believe that we could do and have anything. So, like I said, again, our parents don't regret having us, and we don't regret having our kids, but we could feel guilty for seeing them in pain. I'm sure that there's parents out there that see their kids that, can get on, let's say harder stuff. Let's be really dramatic and say drugs and alcohol and, or being completely broke and, working in a job for 40, 50, 60 years that you hate and being in all that pain. Well, they don't regret having you, but they will feel the pain and guilt seeing you in that situation. So that's what I'm talking. That's what it means to me. I want to see my kids not have that happen to them. I can't control all that. It's up to them. They get to a certain age, just like it was for me. I got to a certain age, and I can't blame my parents or my upbringing anymore. I have to be responsible to make sure that my mum gets a good ROI on having me. So that's what I mean. It's a bit long-winded, but do you get what I mean?
Yeah, I love that, mate. And you touch on so many amazing points there. And, and I've said this before, I really feel like as parents, our only goal, for our kids in life is for us to pursue our dreams, because then it gives our kids permission to pursue theirs. Now, I had some goals and dreams when I was growing up, and they were kind of squashed out of me. And I think that's what happens as children. We're born into this, this beautiful world. And as you said, we have unlimited potential, untapped potential. And most people die not even scratching the surface of that potential. They die with the music still in them. They die with all the innovation and the creativity and the entrepreneurism. And, they don't even know what they're capable of because they never really tried. So what we want to sort of talk about today is to get you thinking a little bit differently about, well, what is your return on investment and how are you showing up, not just for yourself, but for your family, for your parents? Like, are you the person that you dreamt of being as a child? Are you the person that, your parents just, they sing praises about you all the time, that kind of thing. So it's really getting you to look in the mirror and go, where am I at right now with my life? And am I happy with the current situation? Because if you're not, then it's time to change. And I guarantee that you playing small and below your potential is having a flow-on effect to your kids. For me, I love trying to learn and learn how to be a better parent, but also, our kids are really our greatest teachers. They really, really are. And I love being able to teach them and guide them and show them new things and open their minds up to new possibilities and new ways of thinking, and I'm trying to, train my mum in this a little bit too. Sorry, Mum, if you're listening to this podcast, but I'm going to use you as an example. But my mum's not a fan of tattoos. Now, she always wonders why people cover themselves in tattoos. She just doesn't get it. And I said to Mum, you know what? It's not right. It's not wrong. It's just different. You don't like that, but these people find it beautiful and uplifting and inspiring. And a lot of these tattoos on their body probably mean something, to them. Whereas Mum loves to collect walking sticks, and I'm sure not everyone is a fan of walking sticks. So, this is what makes the world so beautiful and so messy and chaotic, but also makes us so unique. And, it's important not to judge people as well on where they're at, because everyone's on their own journey. But what we really want you to do today is really have a look, turn the mirror towards yourself and have a look in there and just go, you know what, am I being the person that I'm capable of being?
Yeah, you made some massive points there. And something that I've been going through recently, is really just seeing, I've been focusing on a lot of high performers. So, and what I see in the high performers is there's this group of people, they're doing quite well, and then there's the high performers. Now, the high performers get honest. They don't sugarcoat where they're at. I watched one of Russell Brunson's coaches. We're doing some work with him, and he literally said, he failed school, and saying that it was the teachers or anything else is what the majority of people do. He says, no, he looked in the mirror and pointed at himself. He literally did the Leighton Hewitt, and he said, you're dumb. You're dumb. And he didn't mean it in a tragic way, like where you're beating yourself up. He's like, dude, you failed school. It's not that hard to pass. You failed. Go read books. Go get smarter. Go do something about it. Grant Cardone said that at an event to me that when he was overweight, there was no point in him saying it was, because he's working so hard or he didn't have the time. He's like, no, you're fat. Because when you say something like that to yourself, and I've recently said it to myself, I got out of shape. I was like, well, getting to it later is not going to help me. Literally just noticing what's between your shoulders, and handling where your actually feet are now is how you can create change. I don't mean beat yourself up and go sit in the corner and have a pity party. I'm like, okay, I'm fat. It's time to do something about it. I need to lose this weight because I want to be around here until at least I'm 120, and I want to be an active grandfather and great grandfather that can spend quality time with my kids. So I got to do something about it. I need to be a walking advertisement for my health and wellness business. No one wants to buy products and services and coaching and around the health industry from, a guy that's halfway to being a sumo wrestler. You know what I mean? No one wants that. So like same with being broke. If you're broke, it's not the government's fault. It's not your parents' fault. It's the universe telling you need to do something about it, and you can take action and do something about it. But just complaining and blaming, that's not taking responsibility. You can't do a journey without knowing the starting point. So like, if you're overweight or you're broke or you're spiritually broke or whatever's happening, you just got to be honest with where you're at, because then you got your starting point. It's just like Google Maps, right? You can't, I can't get to Melbourne from where I am now if I don't know where I am now. Does that make sense? Like, so just, yeah.
Yeah, it totally does, mate. I'm glad you brought Melbourne up, actually. That's a good segue. So I want to share a little story with our listeners who may not know this, but last night, I actually fly to the USA next Wednesday morning at 6 a.m. So last night, I'm putting in my visa application, and I realised when I go to get my passport number that my passport has expired. And I'm like, yikes, because it usually takes 2 to 3 weeks, right, to get a new passport. So, okay, I'm like, usually the old Kristine would freak out and she would start blaming everybody. And I just said, you know what? This is your fault. Your lack of attention to detail. This is the universe sending you a message to say, you need to sharpen up. You know, you need to start getting more organized and stop leaving everything to the last minute. Now, this is probably one of my Joel's pet hates about me, is I leave things to the last minute all the time. I'm very quite laid back. So what I had to do this morning was I had to drive 3.5 hours from Albury to Melbourne to go and get my passport renewed. And then I've got to go back Tuesday to pick it up. And then hopefully it's going to be there so I can fly out Wednesday morning. Now, on the way, on the highway, the bottom of the car decides to fall out. And I'm driving along with this scraping noise as well. Now, because I was vibrating at a higher level, because I have raised my standards, I've worked on self-development, I didn't freak out at all. I went and pulled over. I went and bought some tape. I taped the bottom of the car up. I kept going because I had a deadline to get to Melbourne. And I just know that it's out of my control. Now, I couldn't blame the trucks that were holding me up on the highway. I couldn't blame, my partner. I couldn't blame my kids. I had to turn the finger back to me and take full responsibility for the extra $200 in petrol it cost me today, for the extra $200 to get a rapid passport done, and I think what happens is that when we start blaming, that's when we start playing below the line and we start vibrating at a lower level. We start feeling terrible. We start, all those negative feelings start to creep in. But I said to Joel before this podcast and that today that both of us are vibrating so high right now that not even that chaotic day could kill my vibe. I was just like, you know what? It could have been worse. I could have been at the airport and then figuring out that the passport had expired. So this is what we mean about that return on investment. This is what we mean. It's about raising your standards. It's about making sure that you're vibrating at a higher level. And when you do that, you live at a higher level of consciousness. Things don't get you down that would normally stress a lot of people out. That would normally, back in the day, I would have been in tears today. I would have been freaking out going, what? But all I did was, okay, what's the first step? How can I make this situation better? What's the first thing I can do that's going to help resolve this situation? Instead of sitting there sulking, I got resourceful. I went and found out what I needed to do. And that's what we need to do in life, guys. If you're not happy with where you are, if you're not happy with where you're vibrating and how you're feeling on a daily basis, then change it. No one's going to come and save you. No one's going to do it for you. Your parents are not going to save you. Your kids are not going to save you. You have to save yourself. You have to be the healthiest, happiest version of yourself. And when you do that, that's when you give back to the world. That's when you vibrate higher. That's when you have better relationships. You are more mentally clear. You're better off financially. And even if it's not financial, you're happier. You have a more joyous life, a better quality of life, because you're stepping into your power. And that's what we want to teach you to do as well. So I know that was a long-winded story, Joel, but I wanted to share that. And a lot of this comes back to self-responsibility, how we're showing up on a daily basis.
Yeah, and it's the point I took from that as well is like that I want to highlight is you weren't always able to handle the what life brings you the same way as you did today. So like you even said, like a few years, like going back years ago, you would have been in tears, you know. So that for the listeners out there that think that, oh my God, it's all right for those guys. They've got successful businesses and all that. Like we haven't always had that. And there was a point in time where like I built it and I'd through like situations that happened, like I've lost it and I had to build it again. And there was a point in time where I wanted to give up. And all I could think of was like, this is not how the story is going to end. And like thoughts of what, you know, like my parents and my family would have like thought had I given up and not been the person that they knew I could be. Like they see potential in me and I don't want to disappoint them in that. You know, like it doesn't help my mother to see me be broke, putting her grandchildren through hardships because I won't get my shit together, you know? So like I worked at a tip. I worked at a garbage tip. I dug holes in cow paddocks to put electricity in flyers and all that. And I went from wearing a suit to doing that. And that was because I just knew that I needed to put one foot after the other. I knew that, you know, getting a regular job and all that sort of stuff, and that was pretty regular, but, you know, like I built it up and I got back. So, like we both know what it's like to fall over. And, you know, there's not a person anywhere who isn't capable of doing more than he thinks he can, you know, and that's a quote by Henry Ford. And, you know, the thing that I want to put out to the audience tonight is like, be so grateful that you have the skills, tools, and time to learn anything you want. You know, if you want to learn how to be a billionaire, you can. If you want to learn how to be at the top of a direct sales company, you can. If you want to be a coach, you can. You want to be a car mechanic, you can do it. You want to be a brain surgeon, you can do it. You know, like there's nothing out there that you can't learn how to do. You know, it might be illegal for you to be a brain surgeon. I don't know about that, but you know, outside of that.
Operate on my brain, Joel.
Oh, well, that's what we're doing. We're being brain surgeons now. We're operating on people's minds now. So
I like it. Exactly.
Like, look, here's what you want to do. Don't disappoint the people that have put so much effort into you. You know, you've got a debt by being born on this planet. You know, Gary Vee often says it's a 400 trillion to 1 chance that you're going to be born a human. And being a human, we're messy creatures that take a lot of resources, each one of us, and you know we got a debt to Mother Nature and the Earth and the planet and the universe that we should be paying back by the end of our lives. You know, and if that was something that everyone strove to do, wow, wouldn't the world be a different place? You know, so like Grant Cardone, I'm a quote master tonight. Grant Cardone says the best way you can help people in need is to not be someone in need. So why not, especially if you're under 50 or even higher, why not strive to not need the pension? You know, if your plan is to be a pensioner one day, you've given up. You need to go down to Copper Art, buy a full length mirror and take a good long hard look at yourself, because like you just need to step it up. There's so much opportunity out there. You can do MLM, you can do ClickFunnels, you can do coaching, you've got so much ability to create wealth in your life that you can not only make your mum proud, you can make the next 10 generations proud. You know, I'm really passionate about this, you know, so just, you've just got to give it a go. You've got to not let the fear get to you. Don't let, you know, regret take over when you are 80, 90, 100 or 120 in my case, where you look back and go, wow, I wish I just had a go. I wished I'd put more into it, because, you know, you can either choose to have a hard life now and put the work in. And it doesn't have to be that hard. It's just like at our age, it's more like just having a go and believing in yourself and not worrying about what other people think, being bold, and just rolling the dice. Or you can wait until you're 90 or 65 or whenever that happens for you that you need assistance or whatever and time's run out for you because you've been fat for too long or you've been, I don't know, I don't want to, I'll be a bit controversial here, like you've been a loser for too long, you know, like, yeah, like you can wait till there to have it hard. So yeah, I don't know. Is that, should we censor that part out, Kristine? Was I too mean?
Not at all. I think we've all had those loser moments where we felt like a loser. I remember I got a job at a fast food outlet. I think it was called Kingsley's Chicken in the ACT in Canberra when I lived there. And I found it really hard upselling to people, upselling that I kept forgetting and everything. And the boss kept making me feel like I was such a failure. And 2 weeks in, I quit. And I felt like the biggest loser. It was the first time I'd ever given up on anything in my life. And I did. I felt, and it was just a fast food outlet. But at the time, it felt like the worst moment of my life. Just, you know, calling it quits and knowing that I could have stuck it out. I could have done better. But I just gave up. I gave up because it all got too hard. And I just, you know, I think we've all had those moments, but sometimes people get stuck there. They get stuck in that loser mentality. They get stuck in that poor man mentality that's passed down from generation to generation. They start to blame, it's my genes. It's the way I was brought up. It's the education system. It's the government, you know, but we have to take self-responsibility. And as you said, mate, like, I'm sure no one out there has the goal of just relying on the pension when they're older. Surely people have got bigger ambitions than that. But I want to drop in a quote as well. This is one that I heard today, and I don't know, it's an unknown quote, but it's the definition of hell. And basically the definition of hell is, on your last day on earth, the person you became will meet the person you could have become. Now, isn't that profound to think about? And that's what you're talking about when it comes to regrets. When you're getting to those older years in your life, you don't want to have regrets, guys, of the chances you didn't take. You know, don't be that person that dies with the music still in them, as Keurig says. You know, don't be that person that let the fear stop them, that let the neg ferrets, the naysayers hold you back, that kept you from stepping into your greatness. Don't let that small little voice, annoying voice in your head that tells you you're not good enough or you can't do it, hold you back any longer. Like, let this be the day that you go, you know what? These guys are right. Today's the day I turn it around. Today's the day I go to work on myself so I can really step into the person I know that I can be. We all have so much potential. You know, even Joel and I, we haven't even scratched the surface of our potential. We're kicking ourselves because we know that we're so much better than what we're producing right now. So watch this space, guys, because look out, the next 12 months are going to be epic for us. And we want to bring you on this journey. We want you to step up and play along with us, you know. And I know that, Joel, you're definitely playing at a high standard doing the 75 hard. I know that it's mentally challenging and physically challenging. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Because I know we spoke about it a little bit on our last podcast, but I think it's so important for people to know that if you stick something out, if you're consistent, Joel's not doing a lot. He's just doing a few small things consistently over a certain amount of time. But what we see out there is people give up too early. People give up within a few days, sometimes within a few hours. It's crazy. Yeah. But do you want to talk around the 75 hard?
Yeah, like it's like I've got a group of people that are doing it with me, and it's unanimous, you know, like we've got about 30 days in, and like we're all just sort of like coming together and going, is it just me? Or like, as these challenges come up, because everyone has a bad week, right? Everyone has stuff going in their business. Everyone has like challenges, you know, and you know, like I've got a friend in there who is recovering from cancer. And he has to go and get tests done to make sure that it's still good. And they really knock him around. And, you know, he was physically unable to pick himself up and do it. And he's just gone back to day one, and he's going like a machine. You know, I got a friend, one of my other friends, shout out to Nathan. He's a listener. He's going to hear this. You know, he had family troubles. Like he was in hospital with a family member for the entire day. It was on his birthday as well. And a testament to that guy, because he still did the 75 hard. He was walking at like 10 o'clock at night with his 6-year-old daughter, because that's the only way he could do it. And he went out and he went walking with his daughter that night. And that just shows so much character. And another guy, Shane, you know, I can't mention everyone, but Shane, he was doing, he was studying at a course, and they were 15-hour days. He's running a $6 million company, and he had there's a no toilet rule, right? And he still had to drink the 4 liters of water. He shows up no matter what. He still did it. He was getting in. He was getting enough time just to leave at like just after 11. Like, these guys are just. It's just showing up every day. It's just the mindset. And I have to tell you, like, there's been heaps of days I've gone, you know what? I've been doing this for 20 days. I've earned in my mind a day where I only do one lot of exercise, or I don't drink all the water, or I don't read my book. But that's a non-negotiable. I have to do it, because otherwise you go back to day one, and realistically, that's just you giving up. So what's the unanimous part is we're showing up in ways that we didn't know we could. You know, like, there's so many instances of like, hey, without this 75 hard challenge, we would have listened to the little voice on our shoulders that says, hey, it's okay just to have that one cheat meal. Hey, it's okay just to have that, just not read your book tonight. Just listen to the audio, you know, oh, it's a special occasion. You can have that beer. We're not doing it anymore. And it's translating into these guys' business. It's translating into my businesses. It's translating into my clients. And it's something special for me. It's clearing my peer group out, because can you imagine me listening to someone's bullshit excuses now? When I'm doing this, I'm like, listen, you don't even come in my circle with that rot. I don't believe you, because I'm doing this. So yeah, it's great. And what it's done is it's left room, because the higher performers that I do want to be around are noticing it and going, hey dude, love your vibe. Come spend more time with us. I'm like, so yeah, that's my 75 hard story.
I love that, mate. And a similar thing happened to me today, you know, rushing around doing all this passport stuff. I didn't get a chance to eat or drink. I was on deadline, so I had to get in there. And I nearly drove through Red Rooster, if you can believe it. Oh my goodness, this is Kristine Drummond, you know, the health guru. I was starving, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't know when the next food outlet's going to be. What if I just pull in and just grab just some chips? But I'm doing this 10-day cleanse, and you know, you can't have your processed foods and everything like that. And that little voice crept in. It said, no one's going to know. Just go in there and grab it. And I thought, nope, I'm going to Google if there's an Oliver's on the way home. And I'm going to stop at Oliver's. And there was one 7 Ks down the road, and it was the longest 7 Ks of my life. But I made it. 3 minutes. Go girl. But it just goes to show that people, like, it's where you set your standards for yourself. And, you know, for me, if I had have gone in and had that cheat meal, even though no one else would have known, I would have known. And I would have started feeling guilty about it, because I want to hold my clients to a higher standard. I don't want them to have excuses either, because there's always a way around it, guys. There's always a better solution. So, and, you know, we're self-disciplined enough that we've just got to back ourselves sometimes and go, you know what, that's not the smartest choice right now. I'm stronger than that, and I can make this smarter choice. So you hold out and until you can make that smarter choice, which is exactly what we've done. So that's the message that we want you to get out of this is, you know, really raise your standards for yourself. You know, what are your values? What do you stand for? Do you even know, like, what's important to you? Do you find that your word is important? If you say you're going to do something, are you someone that does it, or are you someone that says you do something, then in the background you do something different? Because if you do, then you're going to be out of alignment and you're never going to be able to be, that inspiring person that you can be. You'll never be in spirit if you keep saying one thing but doing another. And we see it all the time, especially in our profession, where people talk to talk but they don't walk the walk. And with you guys in the 75 Hard, it's amazing because statistics show that when you have an accountability group, people are more successful than what they would be if they were on their own and left to their own devices. And that's why it's so important to have a coach in all areas. That's why personal trainers are amazing. That's why business coaches are amazing, life coaches, that kind of thing. And when you can put yourself with a group of other people all doing the same thing, striving towards the same goal, it makes it so much easier for you to stick to the plan. Because if you don't, you've got your accountability buddies that are going to call you on your shit. And you don't want to be the one that lets the rest of the team down. You don't want to be the one that looks like the failure. So if that's you, if you are on a weight loss journey, go and find a group of people that can hold you accountable. Go and find some buddies and get them involved. Go and find a coach, a PT coach, a life coach. If you're in business and you want to grow your business, don't do it alone. Go and get other people that have a similar business, or go and get a business coach that can hold you accountable to your goals, that can hold you accountable to your word. And when you do that, you'll be surprised by how much extra you get done, how much your productivity grows, and how much your life will expand as well. That's what we want. We want expansion in life, and the more inspired action that you take, the more joyous life will become, and we say inspired action because we want it to bring you joy. We don't want you doing stuff that you don't want to do. We want you to do things that, that light you up, that set your soul on fire, that is going to allow you to be in spirit, connected to the one, so that you can go out there and make a bigger impact. And you don't have to make a global impact. It might just be an impact in your family, within your household. It might be an impact within your friends. You might be the inspiration for someone in your social network to change their life. So when I say impact, it doesn't have to be big and massive. It can just be changing one life at a time. But you need to show up differently in life for that to happen.
Yeah. So I'm going to steal a little bit from Ed Milet, because something you brought up there, keeping your word to yourself is a huge thing. If you're hearing this and you're listening to the end, you're about to get the most value of the whole podcast. Here's how you change your life. If you're overweight, you've obviously made a promise to yourself that you're going to lose weight. It'd be crazy if you haven't. If you're broke, you would have made a promise to yourself that you want to have money one day. Don't break that promise. If you want, you want to start getting credibility and live life with integrity, start keeping promises to not just everyone out there, but yourself. If you start to do that, you're just going to start getting respect for yourself. And when you start respecting yourself, you're going to demand that other people respect you as well. And you're going to earn it as well. And then things will just start happening. But if you are out there wanting to have prosperity in your life and have joy in your life, and you're breaking promises, even with yourself, it's just that I totally believe that's what the majority of people do. Think about every New Year's Eve. Everyone makes big promises to themselves and they break them. What a way to start the year. Just don't make a damn promise. You're better off just not lying to yourself. But if you're going to make it, keep it. Because so I decided I'm going to lose weight. And then I told Kristine in confidence, and then she told everyone on the planet. But all jokes aside, people know now. So they are watching me. They're watching me on Instagram. They're watching me on stories. They're just seeing if I'm full of shit. And I'm not going to be. I don't care. I've got a flight that takes over 24 hours. I don't know if I can physically do the 75 hard, and I don't care because I'll go back to day one in a second because it's done so much for me. I don't care. I'm going to complete the 75 days one way or another. But keep the integrity with yourself. Keep the promises with yourself. And then when people see you keeping your promises and you tell them that you promised them that you're going to help them, they'll believe you. But if they see you being full of crap for yourself, they're going to go, well, like, there's no way that guy's going to help me. He won't even help himself. And that's when the prosperity happens. That's when the joy comes. That's when the trust comes. People will do business with people that know, like, and trust, you know, and believe that, you know, they don't even need to like you. They just need to trust you. You know, like, there's people out there that I could work with that I might not necessarily like, but I trust that they're going to do the job because that's what they do. They keep their promises. So, like, I don't know, you got anything to add, Kristine? How was that? Do you think that was valuable?
Oh, absolutely, mate. And I've actually got some exercises you can do on a plane. So you'll be sweet. I'll shoot them through to you so you can do a little workout on the plane.
Yeah, I'm cool. Is it 45 minutes so I can, without getting arrested by the air marshal?
Yep, 45 minutes. You'll be sweet. You'll be sweet.
Oh, my goodness.
A couple of laps on the aisles, but that's okay. Just use the toilets at the back of the plane.
Well, I'm lucky this time flying at the front of the plane, but not all the way to the front, but business class. So
I know.
I'm stoked. So they might let me get away with some more stuff.
Yeah, you'll have more room to do these exercises. It'll be amazing. I just really wanted to close on, you know what, guys, like, if you feel good in your body, you do good. And we want all of our listeners to do good out there. And, you know, I'm a big fan of nutrition and eating well and eating clean most of the time so that you can have your guilty pleasures in there as well. I'm not about giving up, you know, the things that bring you joy in life. If you like to have a red wine on a Friday night, good for you. If you love to have a piece of chocolate every now and then, awesome. But you've got to get to that maintenance stage. You've got to get to that healthy weight range where, you know, your body's not in shock, where it's not toxic, where it's not inflamed and uncomfortable. That's what we want for you. And the more that you feel good in your own skin, the more you radiate, the more positive you are, the better influence you can be, the better mentor, the better role model you can be for people in your life as well. So our wish for you guys is to live a more inspired life, whatever that looks like for you. And, you know, we don't want you to die if the music's still in you. Whatever's inside you, we want you to unleash the beast. Yeah. And if you need help with it, we're always here, aren't we, Joel? We're always happy to help whoever wants to come our way. So don't
100%.
be afraid to reach out, guys. We love connecting with our listeners.
This podcast, if you're getting off the end of this podcast and you've heard the fire and it's made you look at yourself, then good. This is not a podcast that I want you to use to beat yourself up. Choose consciously to just stop beating yourself up. You know, like, don't let that slip into your life. So use this to empower yourself, not disempower yourself. This is to help you move forward, to really just decide where you're at and, like, what you can do about it, what the next step is. So, like, yeah, that's a wrap, Kristine. What do you think?
Amazing podcast. Well, I thought we were pretty amazing today.
Loved it.
I hope our listeners have enjoyed it. I've got a sneaky little monkey creeping in the room now, so I'm going to call it quits. But we love and appreciate all of our listeners. If you got value out of this, please don't be afraid to share it. We would love more people to hear this information because we think it's really valuable, and we hope you do too. So thanks for tuning in.
Damn. Yeah.